ahead of these calls, because it's always like a last minute, where are we?
Yes, I agree. One thing that I'm excited about is a shared calendar on that note that Ken's been working on figuring out. This would give anyone the ability to basically like add this shared calendar to their personal calendar. And then we can make sure that we have like details in the calendar invite about if it's in the Discord stage or the general channel. Definitely agree. We can get better at that.
Awesome.
You should make a proposal, John. Just kidding.
Not for that.
All right.
It would be helpful,
everybody.
but the good news is that there are really only 2 places where you can join everyone, and it's usually pretty clear where everyone is piling in. But yes, it definitely would make it more clear.
Agreed. And you know what would be perfect is if Discord would just add screen sharing capabilities to the stage. Then we could just do everything in the stage. All right, here's the PO app. Make sure you claim it. We got another beautiful PO app courtesy of Hoff and Chow for setting this up. And today we're going to try a new format out. So the format today, I posted the agenda in the governance channel in Discord. And basically we hand selected some of the proposals that are active or in the ideation phase. All the proposals that are active or in the ideation phase we're going to talk about. And then we hand selected some of the discussions in the forum that will likely advance to proposals, and then have invited each of the proposers to give a brief overview of their proposal and answer questions from the community. So we're down it. We're trying to evolve this governance call, make it even better. And on that note, in the spirit of decentralization, I am in chats with a Fox who will potentially take over these governance calls going forward. So this will definitely be one of the last, if not the last, governance call that I lead. Going forward, I'll just be another Fox like you guys, maybe discussing some proposals. All right, and so I posted that agenda. Check it out. If there's any discussion that you would really like to make sure gets covered on the call today, there'll be some space at the end where we can talk about this. But we got a lot to cover today, so let's dive right into it. As far as active proposals go, there is a new proposal up from LPX around unifying and creating a unified information API and the globalization of Fox token. LPX, I know this is short notice, and I think you were unavailable when I saw before the call, but are you on the call by any chance? Would anyone else like to give like a brief overview of this proposal? Anyone who's read the full proposal? I'm happy to, but I want to give someone else the
opportunity. Maybe you, or I don't know if Hunt would be willing to speak on it. I know he helped LPX write it. LPX is in Korea, so I think he can't make this time.
Hunt, would you like to give an overview of this proposal?
Hey, Scott, would you mind muting your microphone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Green Machine, would you be willing to give a quick overview of this proposal and why you think it will be beneficial?
Yeah, so, and I'm going off of like I've read through it, and I'm trying to kind of take a stab at the sort of the high-level overview and usefulness. So the basic idea is that we've got information in a lot of different places as we onboard new customers, new voters, new token holders. Right, there's stuff in Zendesk, there's stuff on the blog, there's, it's a bit all over the place. So we're looking to consolidate all of the information to make for a more informed DAO member. And not only doing that in English, but in many different languages. And then from there, once we have a consolidated info dump, sorry, my dogs are barking at probably UPS. That allows us to sort of pluck information and start making focused learning initiatives via video format. So if we scroll down, there's my little section. about, yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. So, you know, he's
Could
he's
you,
the project lead on this. We've got where it is, compensation per month. That's for LPX as the sort of the project lead on this. So for each language, there would be somebody to spearhead that language as sort of the technical writer and sort of owner of that language. I know there was discussion about ShapeShift has translation services, and I wasn't quite I didn't hear either way if that was sort of a one-to-one service in terms of what he was looking at, from, you know, technical writing in that language to translation in that language. You just want to make sure that you get the terminology and all that right. But it sounds like if they're already working with ShapeShift and they're familiar with the terminology. So I'm not sure if that budget is going towards your contractors that you've been working with already or not.
So my bad for putting you on the spot so quickly, and I just thought about this to myself too. I really threw Gray into this proposal in the last like week via LPX, so he really doesn't have like a solid understanding of the whole budget and like the macro picture that LPX has. Neither do I. I don't necessarily think, which has been something that I've kind of struggled with on this timeline. I really just tried to help him with formatting and trying to condense all this information that he had and compile it into one document for everybody to try to interpret. So I'd really like him to try to explain it to the community so I don't misquote, because the pieces that I was involved in really come down to like fundamental stuff, along with Gray being added to the proposal. So I'd really need LPX on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's overly complicated. I mean, I'm probably don't have my head wrapped around the back end stuff that is being proposed because he is kind of a more of an engineering background. But the fundamental idea is just a document repo for you know, a one-stop place to answer any and all questions, as well as a point for I don't want to say marketing messaging, but I mean, I guess it could be like when you create, let's say, a marketing matrix or matrix messaging doc, or you go to make user journeys or whatever. Like, we need one central place to sort of get the high level points of what this or that means, or what you know, when we're talking about a specific topic and we want to inform people about it. Like for me, you know, like if I'm making animated content or video content or whatever, I'm not an expert, I'm not a subject matter expert, but I can go to a repository that lays out everything that is being asked. You know, like somebody says, make a video about how to stake, or how to vote, or whatever. So having the documentation sort of consolidated in one place, that's really at the heart of what we're talking about. And not just making it English centric, but making I think there's 7 languages altogether. That's
All right, and 2 points that I can definitely define in the budget is Gray's compensation, and further I can talk regarding the marketing budget that's getting allocated to Pete. That should be under his control in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's the outreach budget that's mentioned right there, the 10K. So I really pushed for that to be in some sort of like control of the work stream. I think it's a pretty good standard phase. Other people can definitely jump in and tell me I'm wrong. I think that him having control of the outreach budget would probably be the best route point. And yeah, that's really all I can touch on regarding this proposal.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Eric. Yeah, please.
Okay. So I'm not seeing this in the proposal on Boardroom, but does this specify who's in charge of this and who's receiving the funds?
Right. So LPX would be the leader on this
But is that
proposal.
in the proposal?
I believe that he did state that he was the leader on this, and then we have LPX as like a co-leader.
And this would be its own work stream, I believe, right? Like this would, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a permanent work stream, but I think the idea around this, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this would create a new like internationalization work stream or whatever we want to call it. And LPX would be the leader of that work stream. And I also understand that it would be a joint thing too. So $10,000 of this would go to the marketing and growth work stream to be allocated to support this these efforts.
So,
Right.
okay, first, I'm not seeing where LPX is mentioned in this thing as the leader or recipient of the funds. And two, I'm not saying anything about it being a work stream. These are things that have to be very clearly specified if this gets it, like as a proposal, these things need to be in there.
There's some links to an external Notion doc where it's indicated that LPX is the leader of the thingy.
Yeah, there's a lot of content, and that was something that I struggled with because I didn't want to imply any pressure on anybody else's proposal writing, so I really just tried to act as like a liaison between the format that he was going to lay out and his ideas.
That's a really good point, though, Eric. And I'm not sure if that was actually specified in the governance process and the proposal template, which would be on me. Yeah. But again, I mean, anyone in the community can give tips and feedback on how to improve those templates. But yeah, let's just going forward, we should get clarity on this, and we should make sure that's communicated to the community before this proposal ends. And then going forward, let's just include that in the proposal template around like which work stream the funds will go to. I think it's important questions. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. I don't think the idea is that it's to be its own work stream, although I was kicking around some ideas with Hunt earlier that this could potentially turn into something like that, like a learning and enablement work stream, because there's a massive amount of information that we could take. Putting this into an information dump is one thing. Turning it into learning content, and I know you guys had different ideas about rabbit hole and all that, about how to incentivize learning and all that. So I think tossing that out or shooting from the hip on making this its own dedicated work stream right now is a bit early. But having this centralized repository for all work streams, I think, is really what we're getting at here.
The fact that it isn't clear whether this is trying to be a work stream is a problem with the proposal. So there should be no ambiguity when it gets to a proposal state about that kind of thing. It should either say, yes, this is a work stream, or it should be clear that it's not. And I just want to implore us all in building these proposals to make them as specific as possible so that people don't have to wonder what it means.
There's some verbiage in the proposal that says like this repo and the work stream. So it seems to passively at least indicate that it would be a work stream. This work stream's attempt, the work stream.
Yeah, so I think this might need some revision.
Yeah, it doesn't explicitly call out that, yes, this will be a new work stream.
Okay, great feedback. Hunt, can you make sure that LPX receives its feedback and he can watch the recording of this to get up to speed? And then, yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. I do want to move on.
And touch on it, though?
I want to move on from this one because we got a lot to cover. I think this has been a great overview. If you have any more feedback, you can share it in the Discord or the ideation post. And yeah, let's get an update from LPX after he hears this feedback.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the great overview on that gray machine. And other than that, I will say I thought it was a pretty awesome proposal, even though you're right, it could have been, some things could have been more clear. I do appreciate LPX putting so much thought and love into that proposal. Overall, it was pretty well organized, I thought. All right, now I'd love to pass it over to Josh. Josh has two proposals in the ideation stage. So these are ready to be upvoted. Josh, are you on the call and willing to give an overview of these? Great question. So right now, the governance process requires that anything that goes to a proposal must be in the boardroom for at least 5 days to give people the opportunity to provide feedback and to signal support. As long as you have, after 5 days, as long as you have more upvotes than downvotes, then according to the governance process, you are cleared to take it to snapshot. That is just a minimum time requirement. You can wait as long as you want. No.
and continue working on our open source efforts and our maintaining current systems, fixing high impact bugs, and doing a lot of work to nurture our open source community. So that's the gist of what this proposal actually just creates the work stream, me as the leader. Another coming proposal, not the next one we'll discuss, but a coming proposal will be to fund the core development. So this just creates the work stream and assigns the work stream leader. Any questions about that? I want to be cognizant of the time that I take here in this call.
I think it was a pretty great overview. So I'm not surprised that there's no questions. That was super clear. Thanks, Josh.
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty high level. It's not committing us to any particular specific piece of work, right? To create the work stream, it just gives I think the high level intent and goals.
Also, Josh, you may have mentioned this, but if not, just want to reiterate that Josh is currently the director of engineering at ShapeShift and has been on the engineering team at ShapeShift for how many years, Josh?
Almost.
Yeah, you say almost 4?
Yeah, 4.5. Over 4.5.
Awesome.
Could you do me and increase the size, please? Because I can't. My eyes don't work very well.
How's that?
Thank you. I'm sorry.
And these are all publicly available in the boardroom ideation phase as well. So anyone's feel free to bring them up.
Foxy McLeod, can you share the link to these slides in the governance channel? There's also a link to each of these discussions in the slides. Thank you, sir. All right, Josh, do you want to move on to this next proposal that's in the ideation stage?
Yep. So this proposal would fund the engineering work stream with 200,000 Fox. A lot of the proposals are US dollar amounts, that amount of US dollars of Fox. This is just 200,000 Fox, to be clear on that. And the idea here is that the centralized employees have been really hard at work on making an open source repo, a new code base that will be our new platform under development. Willie gave a little sneak peek of it, I think last week, or maybe it was a few days ago, I'm not sure when, but we're gonna open source that before it's our production system. We're gonna open source that, and then shortly after that, we will have some grant work or bounties that we will release that we're hoping community developers will pick up to get us to feature parity, but with the new system from current beta.shapeshift.com, and then to be able to continually add new features and functionality. So this proposal is just to have those funds so that it's ready to spend, and I don't have to wait to get the approval when we're ready to post the bounty work.
Awesome. I like that you're open, whether we post it in the DAO Discord or the Gitcoin. I definitely think Gitcoin could be a really good option. There is a 10% fee that Gitcoin charges on any bounties that you do through their system. Yeah. But if we were to do a bounty of this size, I bet that they would help us market it, which could be worthwhile. It could really help us bring in developers from like the Web3 community and bring them into the ShapeShift repo. So I do think it'd be worth it.
I think there's a lot of network effect to be garnered from posting on Gitcoin. That's my default right now, is to do it that way. I'm open to being wrong and having other possibilities.
Awesome. I was hanging out with Kevin last night at the blockchain meetup, and I think the Gitcoin community would be excited about this too.
Yeah.
matter how rough on how bounties will be created, how they'll be approved, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they're going to be, these first bounties are going to be created by I will take lead. They're going to be created. It's going to be a collaborative effort with the existing ShapeShift employees. All of us have built and designed the repo, the code base, the solution, and so it's going to have some pretty strict guidelines to it as for the technical implementation and those aspects. And then evaluation will be done by the current centralized ShapeShift employees. In fact, that's one of the primary job responsibilities of. And then as we transfer into a core dev team working for the DAO, is PR reviews and feedback, answering questions, even being involved in the design work up front if people want help making sure that they're working on things in a way, following patterns that will be accepted once they get to the PR phase. But it will be current centralized employees, and then if some of them actually, they might go on past November 1st, at that point it would be the DAO core dev team that needs to approve it. And the mark point would be when the PR is merged, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's how we do it.
Question, if it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw this in the proposal at any point, but could you just talk to like what your plan, if you have one, or maybe you haven't thought of this yet, of like how often you think engineering will hold community calls once this is set up, or like what type of calls you think you'll be doing on a regular basis?
Yeah, good. Thanks for the question. So what we know is we'll be doing twice a month demos that will be open for both. The core developer team will be demoing the progress and work that we've made, whether it's in development, in production, and that we will also open those demos up for anyone in the community to be able to demo the work that they've done to get feedback, right, from the community and from the core dev team. Those will happen twice a month. Not exactly, yeah. That's all I know right now. We've been doing them on Fridays, but we're not sure if Fridays are the right Friday afternoons or the right time to do it, because then if people have questions afterwards and we want to get some momentum from those going into the weekends, not the best time to build momentum. And we also think we maybe need to do them in the mornings to cover more time zones. And then there is, we're also discussing a weekly kickoff call, right? We'll have I don't know how, the twice a month demos will start when the code goes open source, and then we'll have Workstream weekly kickoff calls. I'm not exactly sure when those will start. I'm not going to say for sure they're going to start in September, although they might. And those will be on Mondays, and they'll be just basically a kickoff of what are the different engineers in the work stream working on for that week. Those are the recurring meetings that we currently have in mind.
Awesome. I would also, this is just a suggestion, but I would suggest, you don't need this right away, but thinking about something like either a weekly or a bi-weekly, call it like engineering community intro call, where new devs who are interested in getting interested can kind of come learn about the engineering work stream and kind of what's going on and like how to get started. I think that's going to become a regular need, and it could be a great way to pull in additional devs into the work stream.
Yeah, all right. We'll keep that under advisement too. And then it's also possible that we may need, maybe not as regular, but like an engineering work stream governance or process call or something like that, right? Just basically governance items that are specific to the engineering work stream processes and stuff like that that will be needed.
Awesome. I've loved going to the engineering demos we've held internally every 2 weeks on Friday, and I can't wait to hold these publicly. I foresee there might be a lot of tips divvied out to people who do cool demos.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a cool idea. No, we're really excited. We really want to get this code base to a state that has some good documentation for people to follow, gives some good technical direction. So people who want to pull it down, we're realizing some people want to pull it down and maybe talk to us about what they want to build or what they want to do, and we're happy to engage in that. There's other people that are just going to want to pull down and make a new integration or build something new, and that capability will be there. And we want to make sure that things like technical direction, and that it's clear to people where we're going with the code base, so that people don't spend a bunch of time working on something and it not fitting in with the way we designed it or where we're going. So we're just putting some of that stuff together before we release it out. And we're really excited to get it out.
Awesome. Well, I want to extend, if you guys do need any product UI UX for any of these bounties, which you may or may not, I think by this time the product workstream should have some full-time contributors. If our proposal passes, that would be, I think, more than happy to help provide whatever you guys need UI UX.
Yeah, I actually was just chatting with some folks about that, Willie, so I'm going to be reaching out soon.
Awesome. And you can reach out to Chow now, because she has taken over as the interim product workstream leader. So
that's good to know. Great.
Awesome.
Hey.
Thanks so much for the great overview on that, Josh. Was someone about to say something?
Yeah, Willie, I just wanted to raise a slight suggestion just in general for these proposals. So I like how this proposal we just reviewed shows 200,000 Fox, but I don't have a frame of reference of like what that means like in percentage terms of the treasury. I just don't have a frame of reference of what 200,000 Fox tokens like means, value wise. So if there's some in just for future feedback, if in these proposals we can tie that back to a frame of reference.
Yes, that's a great point. So while we're on that subject, just want to let everyone know you can pop over in Boardroom to the Treasury tab, and this will show you the current balance of Fox in the Treasury. However, what it does not show you is all the Fox that is streaming to the Treasury over the next 3 years, which is in total, it's 242 million Fox being streamed over 3 years. But I do know that the Boardroom team, I'm not sure when it's going to be released. Maybe one of them is on the call and can give us an update. But they are going to be adding the ability for us to kind of plug in the Sabler stream contract here, so that will also be visible to the Treasury. But even then, there's one other piece that will not be displayed, which is the Fox that has been unclaimed from the airdrop. So on October 22nd, any Fox that has not been claimed from the 340 million Fox airdrop will be transferred to the DAO. Also, just a relevant point is that the total Fox supply is 1 billion. It's actually 1,001,337. So if you ever want to do math on just like the total supply.
Yeah, and I just to add on, Willie, I think a really good reference point for people to know is that over the next 3 years via its Sabler stream, the Treasury gets about 250,000 Fox a day. So for a point of reference, Josh's ask of 200,000 Fox for the engineering work stream for this is less than what the Fox gets from just its Sabler stream in a day.
That's a great frame of reference.
Yeah, love that. Thanks, John. Thanks for that question. All right, moving forward, maybe we'll have time at the end to discuss any of these if anyone has any burning questions. But for these ones, they're in Boardroom. So if you have any feedback on Josh's proposals, please go post it in the Boardroom, and also go, upvote or downvote if you are against these. Tyler, are you on the call, and would you be willing to give us an overview of the operations workstream proposal?
I'm here. Happy to talk about my proposal. It just got put up just right before this call started, so I was struggling with connecting all kinds of different wallets, but I finally was able to get it posted. I guess I could introduce myself too beforehand. I'm Tyler. I'm in the operations department currently at the centralized ShapeShift. I've been with ShapeShift for a little over 4 years, 4.5 maybe, and worn a lot of hats from support to business development to operations where I am now. And I've basically tried to take the important parts of what operations means to ShapeShift and could mean to the DAO going forward and compress them into this proposal here. Would you like me to read through all of it, Willie, or how should I best propose this? Like just a quick overview of what we do?
Yeah, I think quick overview would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So operations is basically kind of a connective glue between all of our departments. We do a lot of meeting management, admin sort of things, as well as a lot of testing for anything that goes from a staging environment to a production environment, and then any testing of bugs that are reported from users to create tickets that product can then assign to engineering to take care of. So inside all of those, we have our 24/7 prod issue escalations coverage. So we'll have a team that's ready to catch something as soon as it happens 24/7. Through that, we have a pretty curated process and flow that we've developed over time for how we identify issues, how we label them, how we address priority to all of those to get fixed, depending on what they affect in the product stream, in the stack, and how they might affect people's inability to interact with their funds, things like that. So yeah, I guess that's what triage management is. We work really well with the engineering team as they deploy from their local configs to the staging environment and then up into prod, and we have a list of things to test. As you might have interacted with our suite before, we have a lot of different products and a lot of different features, a lot of different wallet settings, and there's a lot of different edge cases that we can definitely break when we're deploying things. So we have both an exhaustive list of features that we test that is more like a regression test, and then we have a smaller list of features that we test that is more like a deployment test. So we try not to block the engineer's flow too much, and they can continually release products all the way through out to prod. And then we also are a workstream alignment department. So we can run meetings like this. We intend to run a weekly op sprint with all of the workstream leaders where they can give the high level overviews of what's going on for the week that anyone can attend. We also plan to do a monthly all Fox meeting where there's kind of the more long-term overview of what's happened in the month, what we might be looking at going forward. And then any sort of meetings like go no goes, retros, any sort of meetings that you might need someone to be a moderator for or a note taker for, anything like that. Ops is available to run and be present for those things. So yeah, I feel like
Tyler, I think it's helpful. Are you guys in this proposal? Are you just establishing this work stream and proposing yourself as the leader, or are you also? Is there any funding request included?
Yeah, so there's a funding request. So establishing the work stream, establishing myself as the leader on a term that would go to the end of January, so a quarter term, and then a full team that would give us full coverage 24/7. So one coordinator and then 6 assistants. Currently, we have a few centralized Foxes that are interested in some of the roles, and we will be opening up the roles additionally to the broader community. The skill set for becoming an operations assistant is knowing the product well, having crypto experience, and being a stickler for testing. So I believe that this might be one of the first work streams that we can definitely open up and have a community involvement with, as well as working alongside some centralized Foxes and really embody that decentralized spirit that we're going for. There's also a small budget list for test funds, technology, training, conferences, travel, and some discretionary funds so team members can get Bitcoin on their birthday and things like that. Any and all of those categories that end up not being spent in the month, we plan to either roll over to the next month's budget or return back to the DAO, whichever's preferable by the DAO. And the test funds there for $7,500 a month, you might be thinking that's a pretty high number. That was based on the average of when we were launching the airdrop. It was not uncommon for us to spend about $1,000 every 2 weeks per operations assistant. So that's how we get that number, and I think we can pull it down because we won't always be deploying something as heavy and need to test with as many wallets as the airdrop. But this is where we will find most of our testing. That now also allows us to be the main work stream for testing. So if marketing releases something that needs any sort of crypto trading back and forth to test functionality, they can ask the operations work stream to do so, or any other team that might need us to be testing features.
Awesome. One question I have: are these roles? Do you already have centralized foxes in mind for these roles, or how many of these roles would be open if this proposal passes?
Sure. Right now there are 2 other members inside the operations team that are interested in moving on, and then there's going to be kind of a broad announcement to the rest of the centralized foxes that they can apply for these roles if they're interested, as well as the community. And if this passes, we will post full job descriptions for those roles, as well as the process for the interviews and selection.
Awesome. And one final question, and then I'll open it up. So I see that September, October, there's no budget, and I see right here you say that all the current ops employees retain employment through the end of October. Do you imagine that these other roles won't be filled until November? And do you imagine that you guys will kind of basically get the work stream rolling and start performing some of these duties ahead of November?
Yeah, right now we're definitely at a skeleton crew and cannot provide 24/7 coverage that we would like to fully do it. And with this budget, if we need to, I guess, squeeze some of those numbers of the full 6 over into October and maybe have 2 assistants in October and crawl all the way up to the 6th in November, that's okay. I guess that was a scope I didn't think about, but if we can build the team a little bit before November, I think that would be great. We've piped almost all of the tools that we use into Discord from Slack, and we haven't taken over the meetings yet, but I wanted to get this proposal out first before we started doing that. And yeah, I think that definitely depending on if we have the proper candidates and they're able to start working with us, I wouldn't be opposed to us having some operations assistants start being employed by the DAO and get paid in October.
Awesome. Any questions?
Hey, Tyler. Yeah, I have a question and maybe a suggestion. This is the first time I've seen the budget as part of the proposal, so forgive me, I haven't been able to read it all yet. One is, Tyler, can you talk to the need for why 6 operations assistants in particular?
Sure. The 6 operations assistants is primarily to provide 24/7 coverage on days, nights, weekends, and allow a livable schedule. All of the operations in the past of ShapeShift's experience, we've operated at, I think the highest we had was 4. And in that we couldn't provide full 24/7 coverage and had large windows of us not able to be there, or in times of desperate need, me just having to wake up in the middle of the night over and over and over again to be there to solve issues. So this allows us to be present for issues as soon as they're reported in Discord, so we can hop on them and take care of them. And it also allows us to be more streamlined when it comes to testing across the different work streams. So this allows us, if we have a team that's working on hardware as well as a team who's working on features of a new feature or software, we can split our teams up and provide testing instantaneously and make sure that we're not going to break anything as it gets released.
Great.
This is Major Hayes. Is the reason that their budget is smaller is because they are part-time positions and you tend to spread them out over different time zones to cover better coverage?
Yes, yeah. I would imagine that the ask of hours would be somewhere around under full-time, not part-time, probably around the 30 hours a week for those operations assistants. So it's all going to depend on the schedule and how we work out with the coordinator as well, and depending on who we hire, where they are in their own time zones locally and what they're willing to work. So it's
and I would say what we currently have, this is much higher than what we currently pay these positions. So we do think it is pretty competitive to what we have and people in those current roles.
Got it. One idea, just throwing it out there, is that maybe it could make sense. We talked a little bit about this, but maybe hiring like 2 operations assistants in October, hiring another 2 in November, and then the next 2 in December, kind of ramping up. But just an idea, and ultimately I defer to you guys on what's best there.
I mean, yeah, I think the October part, it is important to remember, like, we do have the current 4-person operations team all on staff until October, and I think that's why there just wasn't any, budget there. It's like we have centralized ShapeShift is already paying for, an operations team in that month to kind of fill these roles and be in this transition period.
One suggestion to consider for you, Tyler, and I can maybe post something later in the boardroom when I get a chance to review the full proposal. But I think one thing that's a little different in the DAO world versus what we're used to in centralized ShapeShift that you might want to consider is we might be able to like have basically a bounty budget for operations that might allow us to not have as many full-time positions and basically have a bunch of people, maybe 20 or 30 people who are trained on some of this stuff over time, and they could basically pop in whenever available, and whoever's available to do the work can basically be rewarded at that time. And you as the workstream leader could basically be like, okay, this person contributed this much over this month, they get this much as a result. And that might allow us to actually have wider coverage at a leaner budget. I definitely see the need for a number of these as full-time positions, but I'm not entirely convinced yet that we need that many full-time positions, or that maybe we should think about this a little differently in this world. So just a bit of feedback.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great. Go ahead, Danielle.
Tyler, sorry, my bad.
No, I think that's a great bit of feedback. I guess my one response to that would be depending on what it is the team is trained to be doing and how we're putting the bounties out, I think that could be successful. But depending on what it is we're doing, if it's actually doing deployment tests, I don't know how reasonable it would be to have 20 or 30 people have all of their local configs set up to be able to test something instantaneously as an engineer is putting up a new feature and not running into a whole bunch of issues in building whatever it is, just from my own personal experience with the team.
No,
I would say too that
true.
if it's 30 people's responsibility, it's no one's responsibility. So I would feel very opposed to that idea of just having like anyone that's around. That we've seen that in the past. That doesn't really work at ShapeShift. We really do need someone to be the on-call person, the one person responsible.
Yeah, I guess to be clear, I'm not suggesting that there's no full-time positions. What I'm saying is that you might be able to blend some of this in this world where there is someone who's, full-time and on call that day, but they can basically have a budget to get extra help as needed, because as things get wider over the time with the DAO, as there's more projects going in more directions, that might be a more sustainable than hiring, 20 operations assistants over time. It's just a thought. We don't have to do that, and it's not necessarily important in the initial proposal, but it's just something I'm thinking about as I'm looking at this. And I also on the config thing, I definitely agree with that. But also, I know one of the hopes, at least with some of the new open source stuff, is that this will be far easier to run, so that devs can get up and running earlier, and hopefully that's the case for testers too.
Awesome.
Hope so.
Thank you so much for the overview on that, Tyler. Please, everyone, go put comments in ideation. I've got an idea that I'm going to post in there, but so we can keep, in the interest of time, we're going to keep moving through this because we got 15 minutes left. Awesome. Thanks so much. So the next one, I'll be really quick on this one because we did a call on this on Monday where we went very in depth to this proposal. Also shared the slides from that kickoff call. But the next work stream that we are interested in getting established is the product work stream. This is going to be one of the core work streams of the DAO, in my opinion, because we are a product-centric DAO. We're fortunate to have a really strong product team at ShapeShift. I'm fortunate that many of those individuals, most of them are very interested in continuing to contribute to the product work stream full-time going forward. And I believe that these are really talented individuals that we would be really lucky to have working full-time on the product work stream. So I won't go too into depth in it. We've laid out our goals and success metrics. The requested funding we're asking for is right now $345K. This has not yet gone up to Boardroom. So far, the feedback has been really positive. There's been no pushback, but there was a good suggestion from Megan to consider having an even higher budget for these bounties. And I really like that. And I think to John's point too, I think that, and I'm also inspired by Pete's marketing workstream kickoff. I do think that we should think about it, and we might be able to get more stuff done more leanly if we have a larger budget for bounties. So I thought that was some good feedback. Thank you for that, Megan. Any questions on this product workstream or proposal or feedback, or are we clear to move on? Awesome. Sean, are you on the call, and would you be willing to give a quick overview of the ShapeShift UMA range token discussion and the latest progress there?
So we've talked about range tokens for a couple of weeks now, and I think it was either the last governance call or the week before that, kind of came to the conclusion that we were having a lot of great discussion, but needed some sort of more concrete proposal for people to look at and to get feedback on. So that's what this follow-up post was. I talked with Josh a little bit about just what this should be, and just describe like one specific proposal for a range token. And there's been a lot of good feedback on it. So I think there's like general consensus that the initial amount of like stables that I proposed raising and the amount of Fox used was too low. So people like John brought that up. Afterwards I like raised the number in like a follow-up comment. There's also been some discussion about the proposed time frame, where I had originally proposed a 6-month expiry date for these range tokens, and there's still a little bit of disagreement around there. And then the final thing that I also think there's seems to be more consensus on is widening the range that I had proposed. So that's still something that I need to like run some numbers on, and I can put up another example range token. But I think the idea here was to just have like a concrete product that people could start to get feedback on. And I'd be kind of interested if, I don't know, Eric or Scott or anybody who was on the call and could speak to like if this had been run by any potential range token investors, and if they had had any feedback, or if anybody else on the call just wants to give some feedback.
I'm not sure.
I don't have any right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the discussions have happened yet, but that's a good reminder for us to go make sure those discussions happen ASAP.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I know Scott was planning to do that, but he's not on the call, so I don't have an update from him.
Do you have a call coming up with Alex, John, and Eric? He'd be a good one to run this past, I think.
Yeah, we can definitely run it by Alex, and I can run it by some other people. Just on the structure, we're not necessarily like searching for buyers right now as much as just trying to get feedback on the structure and the idea. I have some initial talks with some outside parties. They did think it was interesting, but I'm not sure I have enough feedback yet to give any good feedback to this group on the proposal. It would definitely help, I think, if we more solidified exactly what is the range being proposed and what is the amount. And I think we're getting close on that. So Sean, maybe if you could update your proposal, like maybe just in the forum post of like, here's what the amount should be raised, here's the proposed range. I think you were planning on posting like a spreadsheet with that, you had said in the forum. That would make it easier to go directly to people who could give us feedback and just say, if this was the structure, would you be interested in what's your feedback?
I agree. And like that's what I tried to do with the initial post. Of course, that needs to be updated now with like some of the community's feedback. But yeah, I can do that. And then like, depending on additional feedback that you get, like we can continue to iterate on this. Yeah, I just think this is necessary before we actually put it up for a vote, because like Josh and I were talking, and we don't really want to like generally vote on something that hasn't been like, I don't know, we haven't seen demonstrated interest for. So yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like a great next step. Also, just as an idea, it could be cool to, for these points that are still have some contention, like the range, like the expiry date, whether it's 3 months or 6 months, maybe we could put together kind of two proposed versions, and show those to in these conversations with investors, just to get feedback, kind of show them two options. Sometimes that helps people. We could at least like figure out from the investor's perspective which one of these options is preferable.
Absolutely.
I would also suggest, like, I know, like, in the forum, getting a good discussion going, but maybe having an actual meeting or call before the next community call. So, like, maybe next Thursday before the community call, just having a meeting to, like, actually focus solely on this.
Yeah, I like that. Do we think next Thursday would be a good time for that? Or do you think we would benefit from having more time? Just because I know a lot of foxes are out next week for the retreat.
Yeah, maybe like 2 weeks and then hash it out after that or something. But yeah, definitely, it sounds like this is one of those ones that almost needs to be hashed out, like in conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Danielle. I think that's a good aim for like to have a little more discussion in the forum, give some of us, like myself, Eric, Josh, Scott, who have expressed interest in getting other feedback, a little time to get that feedback with hopefully a revised version, and then in 2 weeks to kind of convene a call before the next governance call where we can really go into depth with anyone on this, because it does deserve like its own hour, if not like 2 hours, honestly, because there's so much to this one.
Love it. Let's do it. Thanks so much for the great overview, Sean, and for moving this conversation forward. Looking forward to seeing the next updated specs, and looking forward to hearing the feedback from everyone. So thanks everyone who's going out and soliciting feedback on that.
Thank you, Willie.
You bet. All right, Mr. Nerdhair, are you on the call? And can you give us a quick overview of the security workstream proposal, knowing that we've got in total 7 minutes left? Okay, I think that must mean that Mr. Nerdhair is not on the call. So please, everyone, check out this forum discussion. It's just in the forum stage. I don't think there's yet a budget request here. I think this is similar to Josh's work, just establishing the workstream. And yeah, if Mr. Nerdhair watches the recording, I think, oh, he says he moved it to Ideation. Very cool. But I have not seen it on Ideation. So that's what I was going to suggest, is let's get this up to Ideation.
It is up on Ideation. I've seen it. I actually voted it up the other day. I can give just a quick, 2-second overview of this is something Mr. Nerdhair has been talking for a while. Yes, you are right, Willie. He's not suggesting a budget yet, since he's still being paid for a while longer. But he is suggesting being voted in as workstream leader and establishing the security workstream, which I'm strongly in favor of, and I think it's a well thought out proposal.
Agreed. And then, yeah, can't think of a better leader than Mr. Nerdhair. He's awesome, and I think many of you guys have had some great interactions with him in the community. Thanks for the overview, John. Pete Coyne, are you available?
Shift. I also have full confidence in Mr. Nerdhair to lead the security workstream.
Awesome. Thanks, Imperklin. Imperklin is our Chief Information Security Officer. And on that note, he's going to be, on September 2nd, he's going to be doing a call for the community to train everybody and educate everybody on best OPSEC practices. Looking forward to that. Thanks, Michael. Pete Coyne, are you on the call? All right, I can take this one. Pete Coyne gave an excellent kickoff just yesterday for the marketing and growth work stream. He's got the link to the recording as well as the slides. Quick overview is that they are requesting $307,000 worth of Fox to fund the marketing and growth work stream from September to December. Note that there's 4 full-time contributor salaries. There's also a really healthy budget for just bounties and miscellaneous contributor rewards. So anyone in the community who wants to help contribute to the marketing and growth work stream, there'll be a budget to reward you for it. So if you got any feedback on this, definitely go to the forum and share your feedback soon. I think, like me with the product work stream proposal, both Pete and I want to get these proposals up for through the ideation and voting process ASAP, so that we can make sure that these work streams are funded by September to pay the contributors that are interested in working full time. All right. Crypto Meg, are you available to give an overview of the customer support workstream proposal?
Don't think she's on the call.
All right. Does anyone know one thing I'm not 100% sure about is if there is a budget request in this? Looks like there's not yet.
I don't think there is yet.
This is kind of just laying out the goals of the customer support workstream. Megan is currently our director of customer support at ShapeShift, and she and her team are very interested in continuing to provide their amazing customer support services in this new decentralized world. I will say, I'll just give a shout out to their team and say that we often get shout outs for our amazing customer support, especially in the crypto world where a lot of projects have no customer support. We get a lot of appreciation from our community and users for the amazing customer support that Megan and her team have been providing for over 5 years now. So if you have any feedback, please go share it in the forum post here. And if Megan or anyone on her team is listening, I think this is ready to go to ideation if it hasn't already. All right, we're making such good time. John, do you want to give a real quick overview of this liquidity mining program? Sorry, I only left 3 minutes for you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And I'm happy to stay a few minutes extra if anyone wants to go into more detail. But as a quick overview, I'm not necessarily making a proposal yet, but I wanted to at least get the discussion going for how liquidity mining goes after mid-October when the current liquidity mining program ends. So there's definitely read the forum posts, but I'm more or less contemplating, my initial starting point was something like 1/3 the rewards, which actually comes out to the same amount of Fox that we allocated to the initial mining program over 9 months. So that would get us through 1 full year of liquidity mining, including the current 3 months. And that's I basically suggested doing that for Uniswap, and then perhaps doing the same for SushiSwap as well if we want to. And then on the Bancor side, I'm suggesting that we actually just extend our airdrop to Bancor members, including via all the same rules. So 200 Fox per Bancor member, give them some amount of time to claim it. And in exchange, it sounds like they may be willing to basically do all the liquidity mining rewards and their impermanent loss protection with their Bancor token for us in the Bancor pool. So it wouldn't actually require any tokens for the Bancor liquidity mining, which is pretty cool. And just like the normal airdrop, any that go unclaimed by Bancor holders would actually get clawed back to the Treasury over time. So it would actually probably end up being a pretty cheap program to get the Bancor one up. And I think I'm pretty bullish on that. There was also some talk about maybe looking into a honey swap on XDAI program. And I know that they're planning to post more details on that. I'm not as good on that right now, or I don't have as much to relay on it because I don't understand it myself yet. But I did just want to get this discussion going, and very open to feedback or perceive, even if someone else wants to pick up the proposal to eventually push it through into ideation, et cetera. I'd be happy to let them have that. By no means do I have to be the one to do that. But I just wanted to get the discussion going and look forward to hearing people's feedback on that. I do think it's important that we continue liquidity mining, especially in the current Uniswap pool past October. But how much and how many pools and which amounts are all very debatable items, and look forward to hearing more feedback.
So John, to clarify, you're thinking basically 1/3 of the current flow, but done over 3x the time. So 1/3 over 9 months instead of 3/3 over 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's the same amount of Fox tokens, but spread across 9 months.
Exactly. Yeah. So the way to think about it is right now we're doing about 15.7 million over 3 months. And my suggestion is let's do 15.7 million additional in Uniswap over 9 months, which would equal 1/3 of the current reward weight.
I like that. And I like that it doesn't just kick the can for 3 months and then we have to revisit it then. I like that it's a longer term plan.
Agreed. That's my hope, is I don't want to have this conversation, every 3 months for the next 6 months or something. So I think 9 months, basically my thought is that I think it's smart for the DAO to incentivize liquidity for the first year of its existence. So 9 months would get us there. And then at that point, it's really debatable whether we should even continue liquidity mining or not. And it should be based on the current state of facts at that point in time that is just too far to predict right now.
Yeah, I agree. I also don't think it has to be the same flow rate as currently, because it needed to be high when we launched this, and especially to absorb supply as the airdrop goes out. But that airdrop is done in October, so that will be no longer a variable. And I think you'll still end up with very healthy double-digit APYs, which should be sufficient to at least maintain relatively high liquidity levels in this pool.
Totally agreed. I would love for you, Eric, to look at that forum post when you get a chance and maybe just weigh in on the support if you either agree or disagree with any parts of it. But yeah, I think it's a good starting place, and I'd be happy if this is where we ended up. But I'm also very...
Yes, thanks for getting the discussion started and being open-minded, John. And thank you everyone who's provided feedback. I think there's been a lot of really good feedback so far in the discussion. I also thought Marley made a really great point that there's 340 million Fox that we airdropped, but only a percentage of that has been claimed. And the goal of that airdrop was to get the Fox tokens out into the community members' hands, and so that we could really be decentralized, right? You can't have a DAO if you don't have a distributed group of token holders and governors. So because only a small percentage of the airdrop has been claimed, all of that Fox will be clawed back to the DAO Treasury, and these liquidity mining programs are a perfect way to distribute that Fox that wasn't claimed to community members while also supporting the DAO's goals. All right, and we are over. So like John said, happy to hang out a few minutes over. If anyone has any burning thoughts or wants to bring up any other potential proposals that we didn't cover today or talk about any of these, but totally understand if you have something else you need to get to.
Thanks, Holly. I have a burning question, although this might be stupid. People keep referring to the forum, and there are two forums, unless I'm misunderstanding. There's the one shown on Boardroom, and then there's the one at forum.shapeshift. These aren't the same, right? Because I was looking at like marketing and growth workstream post, and it's different on each.
So this is a great question. Eventually, Boardroom has plans to build out this forum function feature so that it has parity with Discourse. And at that time, we could consider migrating all of our forum contributors over to Boardroom and just keeping the whole forum discussion and the proposals and the voting and everything all in one place. Right now,
there's already a forum in, yeah.
What this feature does right now is it basically displays all of the posts from the meta governance category in here. So only posts in this meta governance category will show up in Boardroom. We basically have the ability to choose like one category that we want to show up in Boardroom, and so we chose meta governance. But does that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. So the one on Boardroom is a clone of the meta governance subforum on our forum.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
We should make that clear somehow.
Yeah, I'd almost. That's so confusing. I'd almost rather we don't even display the forum on Boardroom.
Yeah, I think I'd suggest that too.
Because I think for everyone else listening, generally when we're talking about the governance process right now, these start as kind of more informal discussions in the forum, and usually when we say it's on Boardroom, what we mean is it's moved at least to the ideation phase, which is the kind of preparing to become a formal proposal stage. And that's where there's actually votes involved to, indicate or say that you don't support it moving to a formal proposal. And at that point, it really needs to be in formal proposal format, where in the forum it does not, and it can be kind of a more open discussion that anyone can contribute to very easily. But yeah, that is very confusing. I think I agree with Eric. I would rather not even display that for the moment until it can mirror everything.
Thank you for the feedback. I think the Boardroom team is really eager to hear all this feedback from us, so let's definitely pass it over to them.
Hey, Willie, is that something we can do we have the power to just turn that off?
I don't think that we have the power to turn it off. That said, if we make this request to the Boardroom team, especially, we could see, I think they'd be willing to take it, and we could get an idea of how long it will take them to do it and share that. They've been really willing and eager to hear feedback from us, because right now ShapeShift DAO is one of their top, I think it actually is their top project. So they want that feedback.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you. And just so I'm clear, what I'm hearing is that the ideal thing would be to remove forum. What do you guys think if we could just make this like link to our forum? Would that be an improvement?
Yeah, linking to the forum would be great. I just don't want to confuse people when we're like, go to the forum, and then they go to basically do what Eric just did, where they go to Boardroom and they're like, well, I don't see anything about this.
Yeah, because I clicked on the marketing and growth workstream, and then it didn't have anything about budget. You guys were all talking about budget, and I thought I was taking crazy pills. I figured it out, but it took a little while.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Eric. If Eric's confused, I think you're probably not alone there.
About the product work stream.
Oh, wow, and if Parker's confused, then yeah, we really got it.
A lot of crazy pills going around. All right, guys, I got to jump. Thank you, Willie.
Thank you, guys. Any other burning questions, or should we call it?
Hey guys, this is Kent. If I could just jump on my governance soapbox here and zoom out a little bit from the more tactical and granular stuff. But I just want to bring something up. For those of you that follow the crypto Twitter drama and kind of the daily stuff, Uniswap has kind of taken some fire the past few days for another kind of governance related issue where essentially some people are kind of accusing them of a bit of like self-dealing or quasi backroom practices because a project for an analytics platform was funded to the tune of something like 20 million, and it didn't. And this is with a caveat that I don't actually follow Uniswap personally, but this is what I've been hearing is the vote or the governance proposal didn't really receive much participation. There was kind of a lack of transparency around it, and there's kind of a perception that a third party essentially like raided the Treasury. I love Uniswap, but this is not like the first time that they've kind of taken those sort of criticisms. I think there's some lessons here for ShapeShift because this DAO is going to grow dramatically, both in terms of its scope, its use cases, and certainly the community. And I think it's likely the Treasury itself will grow in value as the token appreciates and there's more use cases, and it will get more attention, just like Uniswap is right now. I think there's like kind of three lessons to take from this, though. One is when it comes to governance, like trying to ensure maximum participation in deliberations, and of course, like trying to get a quorum and getting people voting. It seems to me that we're doing a pretty good job of that right now. I mean, just look at this call. People are getting involved, and that's a challenge. Maybe scaling that over time, but I think it's one we can meet. The second one is transparency, and this to me sounds like part of the problem with Uniswap is people are not really feeling that there's adequate communication going on. One thing to be mindful of is like in our little DAO bubble here in our Discord, we're communicating really effectively. There's tons of stuff happening, and I think people feel pretty well informed. But there's also something to be said for conveying this to the rest of the world. And so outside parties who are maybe interested in joining, or at least watching us, because ShapeShift will be more closely scrutinized by outside observers as we grow. It's important to convey like the hows and whys. Like, okay, there is this proposal. What's going on? Maybe that falls under the scope of like a marketing work stream or something like that. But I think that's probably one of Uniswap's shortcomings at the moment that maybe we can learn from. And then thirdly, this gets a little bit more broad. And Willie, I know you've done some thinking about this, but the notion that coin governance is not perfect. In fact, it's kind of it's sort of a very rough measure of not participation, but like the will of the community, so to speak. Maybe in the future there's a more effective way to go about it with like quadratic voting. Vitalik recently had a blog post about that, so maybe check that out. But that's kind of just like my general point is there's probably room to improve on the way that the big names are doing it right now, and it's going to be super crucial that we get it right in the future because we need to be transparent. We need to be maximally, decentralized and participatory. And but yeah, I think we're doing a great job so far.
Great points, Ken. Are you on the Uniswap thing? I saw some of the same Twitter stuff that you did. I thought it was still being voted on. Are you saying it passed, or just that you're just seeing the Twitter stuff about it?
It was my understanding that this particular one actually passed. I think they're a competitor of like Dune Analytics. The name escapes me. Nick Carter is, ironically, because he's a bit of a maxi, he's a part of this metrics company. But
Flipside Crypto, I think too, right?
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Willie, do you know, was that one, was it finalized? I got the impression from listening to a podcast this morning it was, but maybe it's not actually.
It looks like it was canceled. Wow, look how close this vote is. 50.34% in favor, 49.66% against.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. Temperature check. Oh, that's past discussion. So I'm not quite sure what canceled means. Like, I do know that on Snapshot you can have admins that have the ability to like cancel proposals, and I'm assuming that's what happened here. But wow,
it could be the proposal creator, I think, can always cancel it too. So it's possible that they saw the pushback and said, okay, we need to re-engage with the community. I hope that's what happened.
That makes sense, because the pushback wasn't like this could never happen. The pushback was like, I won't support this as it currently stands, but I would support it if you guys took this feedback and made another proposal. That was a lot of the sentiment I saw, so that would make sense.
Interesting. So it sounds like the pushback happened in time to kind of make an impact on the process. But it sounds like like the fact that this even happened suggests that there's certainly room for improvement with the way that they're handling things.
Right, and there's 121 votes. One thing I want to call out is that our governance is crushing it, and we are getting often more votes on our proposals than even Uniswap, which is arguably the top DAO with the largest treasury. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So,
yeah, I mean,
props to all you guys.
We've crossed 200 votes, I think, a couple times already, and we're only a month in.
Yeah, excellent participation, everybody, and yeah, excellent points. It reminds me of what the Maker team gave us as their advice. Like, the best advice they could share for successfully getting a DAO going was transparency and communication. And I thought that made a lot of sense, because that's the same thing at like a centralized organization, but you can imagine how it's even that much more important with a DAO owned by its community. So let's all keep that in mind and make sure with all of these proposals that you are communicating effectively and transparently. That's going to result in the best long term for the DAO. Any other burning thoughts or questions anyone wants to share? I'm technically supposed to be off today, but I've ended up working all day.
Happened to me last week. My proposal was also staged to go to ideation tomorrow. And so I think I've explained enough and we're way over time, so I'm not going to go into detail there, but just watch out for it on the validators.
Yes, thank you, Marley. Honestly, I just forgot as I was getting ready for this meeting. I did not think of that proposal and including that on the agenda, but we should have. And will you give just a quick overview of your proposal?
Sure. Yeah. I was just going to say, Tyler, I understand the struggle I was trying to figure out. So I ended up with it's kind of impossible without MetaMask and Ledger with multiple accounts. Anyway, sorry. The proposal is to run a validator as an income source for the DAO. So my company will run one on the Cosmos chain, and revenue will be shared with the DAO, like 70% to the DAO even. So that's the TLDR.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing your proposal in ideation.
Yeah, thanks for posting it up, Sean. I think it's a really cool proposal, and I love the idea behind it. So I'll look at what you posted in ideation and give feedback there, but in general, definitely a supporter of that direction. Sounds great.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks again for leading the meeting, Willie.
Oh, my pleasure. Again, looking forward to handing off the torch to somebody else. And I'm talking to a Fox in the community who's pretty interested, and they were going to make the decision after the call today. So hopefully next week we'll have a new governance steward. And I'll go work on other stuff for the DAO, of course. Looks like everyone wants to hang. Should we get the Groovy Bot going in here?
Yeah, it's cool to see how many people are sticking around even 15 minutes after the hour. I guess it does just bring up a point of, like, as we keep going, and this is probably the most active we've seen governance with the amount that are going to ideation. We could easily have something like 5 or 6 proposals up for vote over the next week. We may want to consider sometimes adjusting the length of this meeting depending on how much there is to discuss. Like some meetings, it might only need an hour, but sometimes we might need even like 90 minutes or two, just because I want to make sure that we always have time to fully discuss